to here. I can invite, let's see, offline, live now. All right, put it on mute, and then YouTube. Why is this new channel playing this? Okay, and stop streaming. All right, okay, I think we are ready. Now, links. Okay, copy the link. Oh my god, so much shit. All right, let's see. So, at everyone in the fucking server. Oh, I'll send it to you in the chat real quick right now. So here is YouTube, and here is, thankfully Twitch is the right one. Twitch. Okay, so now I go to the thing, and then political shit show, announcements, you do not have permission, debate. Okay, so at everyone. Oh, can you not add everyone in the debate server? Maybe not. Oh no, it works now. Okay. I don't know. It just didn't come up as a, like a suggestion. All right. Synth. And I are going to do a quick about let's see, about 1.5-hour debate about reformism. Should I say Marxist reformism or just reformism? Just reformism. Okay, reformism. Before we go, what would you describe yourself as? Market socialist. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Not a communist? Or an anarchist? Okay, cool. All right. Would you be an anarcho, like, well, no, yeah, social, market socialism. There's anarcho-syndicalism, which is sort of market socialism, but it's anarchist. So you would have a state, basically, is what you're saying, that helps with market socialism. Yeah, that's I mean, that's pretty good. I think that socialism does need markets in order to, in certain instances, but not like too many of them. Hold on, let's see. And reformism and class reductionism. Come join and chat with want. Let's see, so Control C. No, what the fuck? Oh, thank you. Perfect. All right. Top link for YouTube. Bottom for Twitch. All right. All right. Anyway, okay, cool. So now we can officially start. Okay. So reductionism, please explain to me what that is in your opinion. Sorry, reformism, not reductionism. That's the second topic. Reformism. Describe reformism. Mm. So okay, yes. So you okay? Would you? But your ultimate goal is, of course, market socialism, correct? And you think that yes, revolution is not the way to go, but we should more specifically go on to like move through social democracy, and then from social democracy move on to market socialism. Is that correct? That's okay. Well, I that's where I would disagree in that I think that not advocating too much for social democracy, but I think allying with SOCDEMs is a great idea to do that, because then we can pass more policies of we can um you think so. In what way? What would you do? What would you say is the easiest way to do that then?
Sure. So I think Bernie's democracy in the workplace plan is really good at moving us closer to that. I think social
Mm-hmm.
health fund policies would be good at moving us closer to that. I think that another thing that would be really good would be some kind of government subsidization for the startup of new worker cooperatives. All of these are not necessarily socially democratic policies like welfare would be, right? Instead,
Mm-hmm.
they're just like direct market socialist policies.
I see. Hold on. Let me. Can I
You
get
could
to
call
you?
them like left-wing social or classical social democrat policies, and I would agree. But that's just socialism. So,
Mm. People are having trouble hearing you. Is there a way to increase your mic sound?
are you in OBS?
Yes. I pulled up my desktop audio to the full.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just run mine through OBS and give you like kind of a gain boosted or something.
Okay.
Give me just a second here, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Um,
I will put subtitles on when I clip this and upload it as YouTube, as like stuff like that.
sure. All right. Let's. I'm gonna move my microphone over to like an OBS mic, and
All
tell
right.
me if you can still hear me when I do this. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, but it's actually quieter.
All right. I'm about to throw gain onto it.
Okay.
Um, how about that? Is that too loud or too quiet?
This is definitely loud. It's definitely not too loud. How about you, Joe Franco? What do you think? Can you hear him? Start talking for a second, and we'll see. Because this guy in YouTube chat is saying he can't hear you.
Yeah. I'm talking now, and I use they them by the way. So
Maybe turn it up just a little bit more. Actually,
just a little bit more. All right.
yeah,
How about that? Is that good?
this is pretty good. I can hear you
Mm-hmm.
pretty good right now.
Okay.
So cool. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I was gonna Snapchat another thing to send more stuff. Oh, did you copy the link into the other servers too?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, dude, you are the best. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, so were you gonna say something?
Nope. You can go
Okay,
ahead.
because I was gonna ask about Bernie's like thing. So you like what policies do you think that we could use to get passed that would lead to these things? You said more worker cooperatives.
Mm-hmm.
What specific policies would you try to enact that would enable that we could argue to?
Yeah, I said government subsidization of worker cooperatives.
Ah, yes, giving more loans to startup companies. I absolutely agree. Um, The guy says it is still a bit faint. If you want to turn it up, maybe even a little more, we could try.
How about that? Is that too loud?
No, that's not too loud. Keep going.
You know what? How about that? Is that good?
It still sounds the same even.
How about this? Is this too loud?
Um, Yeah, it's not really getting any louder, but it's definitely getting gainier. I would turn down the gain just a teeny bit, and then wherever you were the last time before this most recent time,
That,
then that should be good.
oh, well, I was just turning up the gain.
Yeah, okay, this is good.
Are you saying it's overclip? Oh, this is good.
Yeah, this should be fine. He says
Okay.
it's just this person's, or they're saying it's just low. So if you can, I'll try to speak loud. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but your gain is pretty high. So, and I have it fully up, unless there's a way
Are
I.
you seeing in your audio? Are you able to see Are you able to see
Here.
like my meter red clipping? Oh, I can just watch it on your stream, can't I? I can just look.
That's
Let's
true.
see.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just check it out how it looks on YouTube or Twitch or something.
Yeah, if I mean, can you just show it on screen? I can't see it at the moment.
See the stream. Oh, you wanna hear it on my end? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, just show me the OBS thing.
Okay. The OBS? Oh yes, you can see the levels. Yeah. Here you go. You're the desktop
Exactly,
audio,
yeah.
obviously, yeah. Yeah. So as you turn up the gain, it sort of stays at the same level, but your voice gets kind of distorted.
Can you? All right, I'm waiting for it to pop up. There's just a little bit of like a lag or a delay or something.
Okay.
Can you move the? Can you move the screen up like about like I don't know, call it like okay.
Oh,
The
I
area
see
of
what
the
you're
screen that I'm
saying. Yeah,
seeing
no,
is
I
just
see. I see. I got you. I got
Yeah.
you. I'll do it. All right, hold on. I gotta make it smaller,
Yeah, just
and then do that.
move the OBS window up or
Yes.
something.
Yes. Is this
So
better?
almost. Almost.
This is still not high enough.
Your audio, the audio mixer still up. Yeah, the audio. Ah, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, I think
so,
it was just a little behind
oh.
on the live feed.
Yeah, your desktop audio is Oh, can you like right-click me in Discord or something and see if you can turn my volume up?
Yeah, hold on. Let me try that too. Discord is over here, I believe. And I go here
Yeah,
and
'cause
right click. Ah, here we go. That should help. Talk now.
Okay. How about now? Better?
Yeah, this is
Let me-
louder. Let me, yeah, here you can look at it and see on the levels too and hear how you sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
For some reason,
Yeah,
it still doesn't seem to be maxing out as high as mine is, though. For some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you could do is you could slap another gain on it, right, on your desktop audio on your end, because I can't make mine go any louder.
Yeah,
if you
I
click
can
the gear,
wait, you mean I can like turn up my full volume in here? Yeah, like that. Like in my computer volume.
I was gonna. Well, that's one thing you can do. What I was gonna say is you can take that gear icon and slap gain on your desktop audio.
Oh, you can. With properties or advanced audio properties.
It's in filters. It would be filtered.
Okay. Plus gain. Okay. All right, and do you see it on the sun?
Just yoink it.
Yoink it all.
Just
the
yoink
way?
it up to. Yeah, all the way to 30 decibels. It should be fine.
All
It
right.
looks like it's really, really loud.
Yeah, let's see how it looks now. Talk.
Oh,
yes,
talking.
Now it is much better. Okay, there we go. All right. Oh, we finally fixed it. My lord.
There we go.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
well,
much. How does this sound?
Perfect.
Look at your we're reaching similar levels now, so we're all good. Okay.
Yeah.
So can the text be read properly? I hope the people on screen can see it, because I don't really know if there's a way that I can really do
I can read the text on your end.
You can read it?
All the text I see on screen of the. Yep.
Okay, cool. It's just on my OBS, it's hard to tell. Alright, so yeah. Anyway. Alright, so back to, what we were talking about. Oh, now it's too loud, as somebody is saying? I think I turned it down a little bit.
I think it.
I'll turn
Yeah,
it
I think you turned it down after. Yeah, I think
yeah.
you turned it down after that.
It should be fine now. Okay, we're about the same level now. Okay, so after excuse me, many technical difficulties. Thank you for bearing with us, all my friends. So anyway, here, synth. What was the law? Perhaps I can look it up specifically that you're talking about. That was he wanted to pass, like Medicare for all. That's the main thing.
No.
No,
but what I referred to Bernie's workplace democracy plan, in which he would give, for companies over a sufficient size, half of the board of directors would be appointed by the workplace or the workers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that seems
Mhm.
pretty fuck if I mean that's like nothing almost. But that would be miles ahead of what we got now, but even that is still just like 50%, that's it, not even like 75. But yeah,
Yeah, which is
no,
exactly why I'm. That's
yeah, go
exactly
for
why
it.
I'm saying reformism is absolutely a viable means of achieving what we want. I don't see any reason why we'd want a revolution. It seems like revolutions historically have just been like disasters.
Yes, absolutely. Here's my opinion. I absolutely believe that you want as little revolution as possible. I am totally I'm not I understand though that like and but you understand this too as being a not social democrat and not wanting to even go in that direction even. Um that we don't because they will go against whatever we can. But however, I do think that if honestly we built a great thing, if we could, what I plan to do is build up my streaming career and everything and like react to stuff, get on panels, spread that stuff, and then basically make enough money on like Patreon and stuff so that I can go to South America and actually well, first I want to try to run for local office in my area, and like I said, turn Connecticut into those state like turn yeah that state into like a social democracy basically. However, you specifically don't think social democracy, and I agree. I mean like a social democracy, not like the idealized one where we have subsidized housing, education, food, and healthcare, including mental health care.
Well, it sounds like then you just agree with reformism. I thought you wanted
Yeah,
to debate the topic.
I thought you meant Marxist reformism, so I wasn't sure.
Oh,
That's why I also put debate slash discussion.
no, Marxism is just wrong. It's just like objectively incorrect. I don't know why you would still be a Marxist at this point.
You mean Marxist Leninist? Marxist ML?
No, no, just Marxism. Like the Marxist theories of how the economy works descriptively just ended up not being true.
You don't like Capital? You don't like the observations and the inputs of
Um,
that theory?
well, no, the
I'm not
labor
a
theory of value is
Marxist, but
wrong.
I think Marx and Engels fucking got it on point pretty good. I'm not a
Well, the
tank or
labor
anything, but yeah.
Well, yeah. So some of the predictions the labor theory of value makes are things we can just empirically look at, right? So we don't
Mm-hmm.
actually see market volatility rising over time, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean
We
by
actually see
that? Wait, what do you mean by that? Like, you don't, in terms of the labor theory of value, you don't see market
sure. So
thing?
the labor theory of value shows, or the labor theory of value from that you can deduce what's called like crisis theory, right? Which is
Uh-huh.
the idea of like these the
Every
crises in the
7 to
economy
10
becoming
years, yeah, it causes
it
crisis.
just isn't really well, it's just not really true. The 7 to 10 years thing is just more of a meme. It seems they're getting longer and longer apart. They used to be
Longer?
more frequent. Yeah, they're getting more and more
Really?
distant. Yeah. They
So,
used to be closer and closer together than they used to be closer together than they are now, and also they used to be more severe. Things are actually getting better over time.
that's, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I mean, but the 2008 crisis and then this recent COVID thing. However, that's obviously just a double whammy of timing, but
Well,
I
even then, that was like this is more than 10 years apart. 2008 was more than 10 years ago, right? And the
that's
COVID thing in
true.
particular, yeah, the COVID thing in particular, completely not due to economic factors. It's just due to the
Yeah.
fact that we have like climate change, right? Which you could say bakes down to class or bakes down to economics.
Yeah.
But when we take a look at like why this happened, is not because of some kind of like the market forces or something, right? It's because of the fact that there was a global pandemic, right, from a zoonotic disease.
Okay. So, say I get elected into office and I want to implement this plan that you're talking about excuse me, the cooperative, 50% law. If I do that in my state, what would be the next thing that you would try to do after that? Because the point
Well,
is
I'd be
this.
trying to do several things simultaneously. Well, honestly, the
Yeah.
first thing we want to do right now is deal with climate change, right? Then second
Yes.
place plan is all the
Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
So what I want to do is simultaneously do all of these different measures because I think all of them are good. I don't actually care about like slowly phasing things in. I think that if we have good data that something's a good policy, we can just throw a lot of things at the wall at once and like cut the ones out that really end up being bad. But the majority of them would be good and be massive improvements from what
Oh my god.
we have now.
That's
So it's
true.
not a matter of like a step by step. Do this first, then do this. It's just all of them at once.
Yes, exactly. Try to get the yeah, many avenues of as progress as possible. Praxis coming from all directions. Um, Yeah. So yeah, but I think social democracy is a good model, and I think because a lot of people call themselves democratic socialists, which is not what they are. They are, social democrats. In terms of allying with them, I think using co-opting some of their language is a good idea to bring in those kind of corporate cooperatives ideas and giving more, or like you said, extra loans to companies that are started and will work cooperatively. Um, Somebody said, Rustim, I'm a market socialist. Government intervention in the economy is warranted in market failures, even in economic democracy. Yes, no, because again, yeah, what we need to do is make sure that everybody's basic needs are met. But then after that, for like the mass production of commodity style things, we need markets for that, because then you know how, like, roughly the demand of what people want and how much they need, and then you could start producing them using companies that would be, like I said, cooperatively, um, run. Hold on, maybe I should move my thing over here so I don't block the chat. And I'll put this right here over me. Yeah, so, okay, well, fair enough. I'm glad to see that we agree. I think that really, yeah, I think that once you get the government to get a good, tax rate, so that instead of spending all the fucking money on the military, we take a bunch of that money out, and then we start taxing people at certain tax brackets much more harshly, but higher up, and again, like, progressively, but also including things like wealth and value and government and like assets and things like that. Um, what do you think of Say's law? Bubblegum, I'm not sure what Say's law is. Um,
Okay, well, then I guess since we just agree on that topic, there's not really much room for debate. Do you want to move on to the topic that seems like we disagree about, which is class reductionism?
yeah, well, I feel like we might not necessarily disagree on that either. I'm just more interested in it because I would like to know, like, you obviously are a class reductionist, but you understand the value of, helping people who have been systematically, like, oppressed and everything, and obviously, yes,
Sure.
it has to do with class, and it all comes back to it, but helping them in the moment by helping their social issues and giving them representation, I think is a very powerful tool that we can do in the moment to help spread. Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir. So I think the left over focuses on these identity issues.
I think that a
I have
certain
no idea what
part
that
of
is.
the left does. I don't think the anarchist left does. I think the like
I
SJW
definitely think
kind of the and the tanky people. I think those people are the ones who are much more focused on that kind of stuff. Have you experienced differently?
well, it's not even a matter of experience, right? We can just probably ask the average anarchist. These people do absolutely over focus on identity politics. If you take a look at the average within the sort of anarchist movement, a lot of these people are going to be like these weird woke scoldy types, like the fucking
Really?
weird Twitter anarchists,
No, I feel
the
like
Capris of the world and shit. Yeah.
I get that more from, like, sock dem freaking liberals who don't realize that who think that they're leftists. I feel like because the people who focus way too much on identity and are woke scoldy, yeah, no, those people aren't useful. I personally, as an anarchist who interacts with anarchists, do not.
Okay. When I
know
say
a
the
lot of
left, I
people.
mean sure.
I'm listening.
Sure. When I say the left, I'm including social democrats in that as well. I'm not like
Oh, I do
I'm
not
not going to exclude
conclude
like what the left means to like a small group, but maybe like 5 people.
I think the left-right divide is capitalism versus socialism. I think it's either private ownership or social ownership. I think that if like
Sure.
what
So
basically my divider of left and right is whether or not the government enforces private property. I think personal and public property the only property that exists. I think if you believe in private property to generate in other words business property that you are
well,
designed to they
sock
support
support social ownership.
they support co-ops
Sock
and
support
things.
social ownership.
but they don't. But they still support.
These
They still support a lot of from what I've experienced. Maybe you've talked to others that don't, but the people I've talked to seem.
I'm just referring to social democratic theory.
Okay, so why don't you think that going down that sort of idea is not a good idea? Because you said that you're not really interested in taking that path and taking its different sort of suggestions and main, sticking points. Why do you disagree with that and want specifically to go
Because
with
it seems
the co-ops?
sure. It seems yeah, so it seems like social democracy in particular has this desire to sort of conserve the status quo and to approach socialism slowly. I have no desire to do that. I think that we have to approach socialism rapidly, or else it's be like it's effectively. I think it's like the end of civilization is at stake. Right?
Yes,
I think
no,
that
I know
because
for
of
a
the
fact
fact that
it is.
climate change has been an existential threat, which we have like failed miserably.
Yes.
Well, climate change in particular is something I think we can resolve under capitalism, but it's evidence. Climate change
Really?
in particular is also evidence that capitalism forms. Yeah, it's evidence that capitalism forms existential threats that then doesn't deal with fast enough to mitigate the actual harms of those. I think that the real one that would actually be like civilization ending is going to be the matter of specifically like the AI issue, which I see no way to fix within capitalism.
Yes, the only way to use AI is for it to be completely publicly owned by everybody. It has to be completely open source in order for it to work. And that, I believe, is the best would be the way to decide markets. No? You don't like AI?
No.
Not
No.
at all?
So I don't know. I don't like AI at all. But I think I think I don't like general AI at all. I'm fine with narrow AI.
This is something we should debate about. This is
yeah.
something
So
we
the
should
issue with
debate
general AI is if you
I'm listening.
sure if you want that's what we can debate about.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yes. There's a little bit of an audio delay. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect really fast.
Okay, go right ahead. I'm gonna read some of the comments. Let's see.
Here we go. I disconnected and reconnected because of the audio delay. Can you hear me better now?
I heard you fine the whole time. How are you sounding? Bless you.
Sounds good. Sounds good on my end. So, specifically in the case of general AI, it's just the case that if you make it open source, effectively anyone can make one. What we have to understand is it is effectively worse than a nuclear weapon. We have to view this in the way that we view nuclear proliferation, where we don't want everyone to have the. It necessarily is. So general AI can general AI can be a means of nuclear proliferation, even, right? Because of the fact that the science behind nuclear technology is something that humans found out, right? So if we have general AI, we can do this. We can use the GAI to procure nuclear weapons in the same kind of way that you would build them yourself. So GAI is really, really bad to open source. It's one of the few things I don't want open sourced. I would rather it be highly secretive as opposed to being floss. I think that it seems like the hope for making sure that we don't have an issue there is the effective altruism as a sort of company culture in a lot of these AI places, a lot of the more humanitarian focused ones. It doesn't seem to be the case though that those are going to outpace the ones that are privately owned, like the ones that Google's putting money into.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I really think that I think that it's gonna happen no matter what. And it needs to be nationalized. I don't want governments. The reason I want everybody owning it is because you're right. It could allow the increased proliferation of knowledge in that way. But I just feel like humanity, if we could create a generalized AI that's owned and available to everybody, and nobody gets access to that information that other people don't, and therefore have control over it and can use it for nefarious purposes in terms of what they use it now for, which is selling targeted ads. It can be used to detect things like depression. I'm not sure if you've read the story about the situation where the Target algorithm started sending coupons about baby stuff to a 16-year-old girl, and her dad was like, "Oh my God, why is Target sending my daughter? Are you trying to get my daughter to get pregnant?" And then they were like, "Oh my gosh, we're so sorry," but it was because the algorithm.
You're referring to
the time she was.
Yeah, you're referring to narrow AI.
Yeah,
you're referring to narrow AI right now, which I have no problem.
Okay, so you think that should be proliferated?
Yeah, I think narrow AI is.
Okay, why are you against general Okay, so why are you against general AI then?
Sure. So narrow AI can't possibly lead to sort of civilizational disaster. It doesn't really have the capability of doing that. A general AI, effectively, what you have there is you have you have something equivalent to like a human being in terms of the ability to think generally, right? That's why it's called general artificial intelligence as opposed to like narrow artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So if you have something like this, it's just the case that effectively what you have is the ability to really, really rapidly make an army of human beings who you can all get, or army of things that are human being-esque, and give them a specific goal.
Yeah.
This is obviously a huge issue because rapidly being able to create like very ideologically united people who all have one very specific goal would be really, really, really bad for the world.
Yes.
Because then you can have your bad ideology and you can push it however you want.
Yeah, but I just think if everybody had the power to do it, it would just make it so much easier to find and debunk and truthify these, because they would have the same level of power in order to find out that this is wrong and re-spread that out and de-radicalize people with false information and spread things like class consciousness and everything. I also have a spiritual view of artificial intelligence, in that I think that it's actually part of the next evolution of humanity. That's, my opinion, and we can discuss that philosophically if you'd like. But in terms of right now, would you?
I don't want to get to that.
Okay, we don't have to then. I think that, but so you would rather have a sort of open source group of different sort of like, specific AIs. Would you?
No.
No?
No, not open source. No, I don't even want it source available. Ideally, I would like it to be like, I would like us to.
Who should be the?
I'd like the first one to just be like, make sure that we have like, who like effective altruists. I think utilitarians should be the gatekeepers. We should make sure that we have the first.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Finish what you're saying.
Sure, I said effective altruist or utilitarians. We should make sure we have the first one. We should make sure we make the first one, and that I think is like kind of like the only way.
But how do we decide? Like, what is the test? Like, who's the person that decides who gets to control the AI and who doesn't? Like, how would you measure?
There's no test.
Yeah, so that's
well, there's no test. It's sort of.
I feel like that's why it should be spread democratically, so that we can use it democratically and create different, specific AIs for the purposes of helping with, city planning and, just market spreading out for other reasons, as well as things with mental health care.
Those are all narrow. You are all.
Yeah.
All of these things you're listing are narrow. All of these things you're listing are narrow AI.
Yeah, but I'm
talking about general AI.
Yeah, no, okay, but right now we're talking about narrow AI. Yeah, but you said that you don't.
No, we were talking about.
Oh, okay. What I thought we were talking about was that you're not interested in general AI at all, and that we were talking about.
Oh no, let me just give you my position.
Okay.
So narrow AI, I'm fine. Narrow AI, I'm fine with that existing. I don't think there's any problem with proliferation. Don't care about narrow AI. As much as that can exist as possible,
okay,
I think it's fine.
Yes, that's what I
think.
agree with. Continue.
But I think general AI is effectively okay. Yeah, general AI is a major issue though. So have you heard of like the stamp collecting AI or the paperclip collecting AI?
Yes, no,
these
the
like
paperclip
these
machines.
like
yeah, no, I totally get it. That's why I think you have to be careful with super narrow AI too, which is why I think that I want it to be open, and democratically available, so that everybody can help tweak it in their own way and make it useful. And make different versions of it.
The issue is if you make it open. A stamp collecting AI. Everyone can make one of the paperclip making AIs, right? Everyone can make these. That's an issue. In the same way that everyone being able to make nuclear weapons is an issue.
Well, okay, so what if it was like, it was democratically decided where you say, I want to create an AI that does this. And then you send that out there to people who are, who help decide on that. And then people democratically vote on if not that's worth pursuing creating a specific AI for. Like for the sake of city planning and things like that. Like that would be good with.
These are narrow AI tasks.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to discuss.
These are narrow AI tasks you're referring. Yeah. I want to lay it out again. I do not have any issue with the proliferation of narrow. Okay, I don't have any issue with the proliferation of narrow AI at all. Right? I'm specifically saying general AI can be a disastrous thing for humanity, and narrow AI already exists. General AI, we seem to have predictions that's according to experts at least will exist by about 2060.
Yeah. So But
Okay.
you don't. But okay, so let me just get it straight though. You think that the paperclip machine can only be created by a general AI, and specific AIs, if they were proliferated, would not end up in that result. Is that what you're saying?
So it'll only be disastrous with a general. It'll only be disastrous with a general AI. With the narrow AI, you're giving it a very small range of certain inputs and a very small range of certain outputs, and this makes it really, really easy to make sure that it isn't disastrous. I don't think the disastrous aspects of the stamp collecting or the paperclip AI, right? Those ideas, I don't think those are disastrous unless it's general.
Okay.
The general AI is able to do things that those other ones wouldn't, like for example, convincing human beings to do certain things, or say for example, learning to do new things that are completely outside of the scope of like what an narrow AI would usually do, like learning to delve into the world of computer security, right? Like this is the kind of thing a general AI could do, but a narrow AI could never come close to.
Yeah. So what? Okay, so let's take general AI off the table completely. Let's just say that whenever we use the term AI, we're talking about specific AIs. Do you
Narrow AI?
Yes, just narrow AI. That's the word that you like. Okay. So, narrow AI. We're dropping AGI out off the table. Only narrow AIs. So, as, you know, a socialist and a, you know, a cooperative person, we want to use narrow AI and whatever else we can to automate jobs that people don't want to do and that don't need to be done so well. Things like operating like, you know, I don't think self-driving cars are so good, except for maybe in terms of like a nationalized Uber situation. But would you consider a self-driving like vehicle to be a narrow AI? Because that's all it's supposed to do.
Yes, it would by
Okay.
definition be a narrow AI. I don't see an issue with them though. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. So here's what I would think is I would want AIs to drive like buses for, you know, public transport, and also design the most efficient infrastructure so that everybody can walk, bike, or get public transport to whatever, and then occasionally maybe have some like cars that are also, you know, self-driving, but that would be government sponsored, like taxi services, in case you need to go somewhere very specific and you're outside of a city or something like that. So you could have like a long try, or you could take a train perhaps. Because I think like in terms of you know, stopping climate change, we really need to move away from cars and everybody owning their own car and onto public transportation and walkable and bikeable cities.
I mean, we don't actually see a major impact on climate change from cars that are powered through electricity, as long as that electricity is sourced from like renewable sources or from nuclear.
Okay, but I should show you some things about how cars are like designing living spaces around cars makes it takes up a lot of room, because you have to have things like parking lots and parking garages, and you can't make things as walkable and transportational, and it's just a lot more difficult. If you live in a city, you really would just need to just
I like public transportation. I don't have
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think cars are just something that we generally should just, even
Yeah,
if it's not for the environment, we should start to phase them out as much as we can. Just because they seem like the behind. They seem to have lived, because really what they are is they're that whole like they're that capitalist like American dream kind of thing. Like it's just like, you know, you are so rich that you can afford your own car and the freedom and blah blah blah, when in fact you're actually much more free when you have access to public transportation and you can take, you know, whatever, and there's parks and everything available. So what would you think about like socialist companies that ran on an AI algorithm that was narrow?
I'm fine. I'm fine with narrow.
Okay, so you would
We don't disagree on narrow. I don't
No,
care.
I know. So but you would be fine with people privately owning them and using them for profit purposes?
I'm not fine with private for-profit enterprises in general, but I think that I would like them to be narrow AI rather than like individual human beings.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what if
you know-
like a company like, you know, like Tinder, like a dating app company, you know, they have a narrow AI, but that's basically their business model. So whoever owns Tinder basically just owns that algorithm, and then that person, and then there's very few employees that they even need. But then, okay. So when you say market socialism, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you mean by that. Is there money in your market socialism, or is it moneyless?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's moneyless, or there's money in it?
It's got money.
It's got money. Okay, yes. So the thing is, yeah, people would still have the thing is, if you created a company that was just a narrow AI, it would only have one owner, and then they would basically be able to reap all of it because they wouldn't necessarily need employees, and they could maybe hire them on what's the word, freelance duty to fix issues and bugs and stuff. But basically the algorithm, the AI that like Tinder runs on, is basically their business model, and that's why they have to keep it secret. And I think that using AI, even narrow AI, for profit is unethical. I think all AI should be used specifically for improving people's lives and finding ways to do that. And also maybe automating work that
I don't think you hold on, Smiley.
Oh, you need to hold on for a second.
Do you think it's, I'm just saying, like, would you think it's like specifically in the case of like narrow AI for profit, there's like some extra morality there as opposed to like profit in general?
So could you repeat that question, please?
Yeah. Do you think in the case of narrow AI, there's like a specific immorality to using that? Do you think in the case of narrow AI form of automation for profit? Do you think in the case of narrow AI? Do you think in the case of narrow AI?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Something happened, it like cut out for a second.
Alright, yeah, so the question I asked was, can you hear me?
I can hear you. It seems that chat is
Can you hear
saying
me?
that there's audio issues. People saying, yeah, turn up there's an echo. Hold on. I'm gonna listen to the podcast now and talk. I'm gonna listen to the podcast now and talk. I'm gonna listen to the podcast now and talk.
Is there,
I'm gonna listen.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is there,
I'm gonna listen.
There's an
Yeah.
echo on Richard. Is there,
I'm gonna listen.
there's an
Yeah.
echo on Richard. Is there currently an echo?
Yeah.
There's an echo on Richard.
There
currently
is an echo.
Is
There
currently
is an echo.
Oh,
There is. Hold on. I'm gonna end the call. I'm gonna end the call. I'm gonna end the call. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna end the call. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna end the call. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna end the call. All right, so it's sort of stopped. Is it still? All right, so it's sort of stopped. Is it still? It's still echoing. What the fuck? It's still echoing. What the fuck?
Do you have headphones on? Do you have like the speakers running?
I have headphones on. That's why I'm so confused. And it's not coming out of the speakers. It could be. It could be that I'm.
Or is it just streamed here?
It could be. I was listening here. Actually, you know what the problem was? I was watching my own stream. Yeah. So could you? That's where the echo probably came from. Could you check out the stream and let me know if there's still an echo going on? Is it still echoing now?
Give me a second.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I really, really apologize. That was not very professional. Because I wanted to find out how you sounded, but the only way I can do that is by listening to the stream, and if you listen to the stream, then it creates this stupid damn echo.
Yeah, I don't hear any echo.
Okay.
Myself anymore, as long as you,
all right.
Cool. Not playing the stream.
Yeah. So I don't. Let's see. No one has commented yet, so it should be fine though.
If there's any Q&A from chat, we could go to.
So yeah, the only thing they were talking about is somehow make it louder, and then it started echoing, and then they're like, now there's high ass feedback. Nope, still echoing. Nobody's said anything since the guy who said no, still echoing, but you said it's not echoing. So someone did ask, should we, for optics' sake, present economic democracy / market socialism as a third way? I'm not sure exactly what they mean by a third way, unless they mean between left, right, or like capitalism and socialism.
I know what they mean.
Oh, what do they mean?
I know what they mean, and I know what they mean, and I would say, yeah. So I would say no. The answer to that would just be like a hard line no, because of the fact that like we have the ability to ally with the left, right, as it exists, like the status
Yeah,
quo
we should
left
absolutely
even.
ally.
And this is a group of people who, despite the fact that they have like awful, despite the fact they have awful, seemingly awful like ethical frameworks, is still I think useful to have more people on our side as opposed to presenting ourselves as like a
Yeah,
entirely new route.
I hate the.
Politically.
I hate
Also,
the.
third way in particular has a bad history, so that specific term definitely not.
Okay, what do they mean by? I don't know for sure if that's
Sure.
specifically what they were saying,
There's
but
like
yeah,
a-
what's third
there's a
wayism?
Sure. So there's like a there's
A sock dem
like-
thing.
a sock very similar, and because of that, there's a the sockdom third way is not that bad. But the third position and this stuff is like pretty awful,
Yeah, I've
and
heard
they sound
of
very
third
similar, and I think a lot of
positionists.
people will get those two conflated in their head. So it's probably bad for op.
Yeah, so maybe not third positionists. Yeah, I have heard of them. I don't know much about them, but I've not heard good things.
Well, third. Well, third way is the term used, right? But the issue is third way and third position is like you were just doing there is really easy to conflate.
What are they?
Presenting yourselves as like a third
Oh, lying basically.
third way is just like a kind of like a sockdom kind of position.
Oh, okay,
That-
yeah. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So the answer is that no. Then optically, it's not a good idea to go and as if it's a third way.
It's best to align with the existing status quo power and make sure that we can like operate from within their system. It sucks, but it's like the best. It seems like the best.
Yeah. You know what I do think though? I think revolution is actually something that should happen in perhaps places like third world areas like South America and even the Middle East sometime because of all the terrible imperialism.
Those are the
that's
worst
happening.
ones.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it should
Well,
be. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was gonna say in those specific areas, it seems like those are the areas where those revolutions are most often lead to worse consequences.
Well, yeah, 'cause the
revolutions in first world
CIA
areas seem to lead to better consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So
No,
what I.
no, even without the CIA, these revolutions still lead to like statistically worse outcomes. Successful ones lead to worse outcomes.
Yeah, and I definitely agree that I think the least bloody, the better. I do think that reform. I think what we should do. My plan was specifically, that we definitely move America as leftist as possible and get it up in like closer to like Europe and stuff like that with like you said the cooperatives and stuff like that, as well as things like healthcare and housing and all that stuff. And once we start doing that and we create
No, I
this...
was talking not about America, but about the third.
No, okay, no. So, and then what I was saying is, while that's happening in America and those ideas are spreading more, then, you know, people who are revolutionists or something maybe would want to, like, I would want to perhaps maybe you like do stuff up here and then go to South America and then maybe like reform if into like an actual socialist thing, like maybe get involved and actually, you know, like
Reform it.
yeah, that would be my I don't want to be the white
Yeah.
savior and come in and do all that, but what I would want to do is basically just
I
go
agree.
down and educate people on their, you know, the past and what we should do, and basically spread class consciousness within people who have a, you know, in America the problem with class reductionism is that, you know, people still focus too much on race and stuff, and so that gets kind of the way. But in more homogeneous groups like places in, you know, obviously not Peru and Chile, they're not all the same people, but when you go down to people who have that sort of brotherhood feeling and they don't have an underclass, besides the working class, I think you could build class solidarity a lot better, because it would be a lot more difficult to divide them, and then they could, you know, vote in and everything, and then perhaps, but it would be a little bit more violent, because again, they're not as the thing is, we are very post-industrial, and that's where tankies usually go wrong. Is that the what they do is they industrialize really fast in places like, you know, the Soviet Union and China and everybody, but then they keep a dictatorship of like a single person and of the party, and they make the party very exclusive. I think the point is that you should make the party as inclusive as possible and teach people about basic class consciousness and market socialism and things like that, that's the way to do it. Don't focus on the army and the revolution so much. Focus on the actual theory.
Cutting out for me a bit.
Oh no, I'm sorry. But were you able to get the gist of what I was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cut out there at the end, but yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm. I think if we could get,
the issue is like just necessarily the
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Uh-oh, it's cutting out. I'm listening. Hold on. Sorry, I can't hear you at all.
How about now? Is it fine?
I can hear you now. Yeah. Now.
All right.
Okay. So what were you saying? What the heck? Why can't I hear him? It was just there, and then he's gone now.
Here, how about this?
I can hear you when you're saying, "How about this?"
Sound better?
Yeah, it's a bit better.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess the issue is just when it comes to the whole like tankies thing, right? It's not really like a matter of like tankies being bad is why these tankies being power in these areas. It's more like we create a power vacuum through doing things like revolutionary action, and then the tankies take advantage of that.
Exactly. Yes, that is. They always betray the
just like
anarchists.
Sure, which is why we. Well, this is kind of just why we should like probably just stop doing the revolution thing and just kind of do reform, because that seems to work fine. And they don't really. Yeah. So even in the third world, we should do reform, not revolution.
Yeah, I think it depends on the material conditions, because I mean, literally in those countries, like places like, forgive me, excuse me, I'm eating. Places like Coca-Cola will send in like paramilitary groups to just gun down like demonstrators and like people who are like, protesting for better wages, and I think that they need to be defended. Now, you can do that without a full-on revolution. If what you do is you provide a similar sort of protective paramilitary group that sort of gets a sort of mutually assured destruction, and you let them know that they're not going to go down without a fight, but you try to avoid the fight as much as possible. You just say, no, we are striking, this is unfair, we should not be treated like slaves like this. We should own the means of production. And I think that in certain, depending on the material conditions, it's okay to be a little bit more violent with your demonstrations if it's necessary. Because, I mean, we had to have a revolutionary war to become America, and then we had to have a civil war to end slavery. So I don't see conflict as in and of itself as like a totally, like completely avoid at all costs situation, but I definitely I want to avoid it as much as possible at almost all costs. Like, I want it to be the absolute last resort. I want as bloodless it's called, the scientific revolution is the one where it's reform rather than violence. I want as much of a scientific revolution by just spreading, using the internet and stuff to spread class consciousness throughout the world. And then I think, give them and then as a revolutionary person, like maybe go to these places that have a better chance of actually creating from the ground up a socialist place, like places like Rojava and Sharon, Mexico, that actually were they fought off the people around them, and they created their autonomous zones that are done basically like communism. They just don't have access to large factories. They're just unable to industrialize, so they just share. But the thing about socialism is it's about working together. So the more people you have, the more labor you have, and the more access you have to create things and then automize them, and then what's the word? Industrialize. And then once you do that, then you can move on to more learning. I'm done now, so yeah.
Did you say? Okay. Did you think there's a homogenous culture in South America?
I'm saying that there are ethnic groups and stuff that of homogenous cultures. Not that all of South America is a homogenous color. That would be like the most racist thing that I've ever said. No, I'm saying that all those different ethnic groups have a lot more solidarity with each other than we do in America with our race class divide. Obviously, there are conflicts and everything, and I understand, but
do you have any way to empirically demonstrate that?
That's a good question. Because I'm sorry, I'm chewing. The the studies would be, well, yeah, really. All I can do is there's this. Do you know the YouTuber Second Thought and Hakeem and
No.
Ugopnik?
Oh, I know of Hakeem. Hakeem seems to have like really stupid ideas.
Yeah, I think that he has some good ideas, but he is an ML, and I'm not a fan of MLism. He is definitely more on the revolution side. However, I think America is somewhat unique in the terms of revolutionary combat, because there's just really no way that we could have a revolution inside like the entire United States unless we had another civil war. And that would be a worst case scenario. However, I do think that it's also in part because during like World War II and stuff, we never really had any impact because not only do we have immense land and resources, we were an ocean away from both the First and Second World War, and didn't help out until the end. And in both of those wars, it was the Russians who really did most of the, they came from the, the Eastern Front, and they just bombarded people with bodies, which was unfortunate, but that was because basically they were feudalist anyway, and they had a king, so they basically just, did it that way. But then, they created it. The issue was really, I think, Lenin was
Wait, hold on, Smiley. We're getting like really, really, really off topic. Do you
Yeah.
remember the original point you were trying to?
I think the original point that I was trying, I
yeah.
think that, hold on. My original point was that I think it would be it would be easier to build class solidarity, with people in more third world countries that have been imperialized and, taken over by like colonial invaders and like from the West, and that capitalism has done.
So
and specifically in
what you're referring to as imperialism is not gonna be the kind of imperialism most people are thinking of, right? You're gonna be referring to like the ideas of
economic
even,
imperialism.
Like, bank loans would be imperialism.
Yes.
Yeah,
Things
economic
like
imperialism. What you're referring to as economic imperialism usually helps these countries out pretty.
It does, but then they're unable, they become indebted. They can't pay off the loans. That's why China's doing it right now with the Belt and Road, and it's going into Africa.
National debt is not bad for a country. In fact, it's good for a country.
I mean, in some cases it can be, but I feel
it's not like personal debt.
No, I know it's
in general, it's pretty good for a country. It's not personal debt is bad for you, right? But national debt is really good because then your nation, like, think of it this way, just a really intuitive, simple understanding of it, right? If you other nations, if you are in debt to other nations, so other nations want you to be able to pay off that debt eventually. Okay, so you don't want this other nation to collapse.
Yeah. You want to keep making money off of it.
It's a lot less. Exactly. It's a lot less like personal debt, a lot more like having shares in a company.
Yeah, but what they do, but think about it from like China, what China's doing with the Belt and Road in Africa. What they're doing is great things. They're building infrastructure in these like perpetually, impoverished areas. But they're setting such like high goals that, when they have trouble paying them off in the time, that like China uses that as being like, oh, okay, don't worry about it, we'll keep you going, but they you should work with us and not the US, and like not the Western invaders and everything like that, because they are fascist over there in China.
Smiley.
Yeah.
So hold on, Smiley. I've got about 10. I've got less than 10 minutes left. I've got about 8 minutes on my end. It looks like.
Okay.
Do you want to do like some Q&A from chatters?
Sure. There's not a lot of questions, but there is the guy, I think he was saying the third way. Yeah, he said, but yeah, what of my question about the cooperative party? Who wants to achieve market socialism versus reformism is center-left economically? If they're center-left, who's plain left and far left? I guess what they're asking is what's the difference between center and far left? And I guess what would be your answer to that?
I think what they were asking is like about this specific policy or the specific route. Would it be effective? So I think that like a third party is just kind of like necessarily going to be politically ineffective in the U.S. at least.
Yeah,
But if
absolutely.
you do it in like some other country where third parties have like well, you have like a parliamentary system or something, it could be where you have a parliamentary system or something, it could be like pretty advantageous. But and to elaborate on like the form of the question that Smiley interpreted, I would say that you could maybe draw a line between like the far left and the center left based on like the center could just be sort of like the average or the norm. I think that if you do it based on like capitalism versus socialism, you restrict the left down to a very small group and make a huge portion of the
Yeah, I
a
think.
huge portion of politicians the right. The
Yeah.
other person's apolitical though, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, no, I agree that we should ally with as many types of leftists as possible. Oh, I had a quick question. But I may have.
Would one of those be
Oh.
like social democrats?
Yeah, no. My question was this. What policy do you think
Hold on, before your question, do you think one of those types of people we should ally with, right? Like you were just mentioning earlier, would be social democrats?
Yes, I think we should try to encourage them to create, but then try to move them beyond and move them, like be like, yes,
Sure.
social democracy type things are good, but that's not what we're actually looking for. What we ultimately want is this.
See, so so Smiley, even you use leftist to describe social democrat.
Yeah, but the thing is that but I think that I ally with them, but I consider them like in the center. Like the reason what defines the actual left, like where it becomes center left, like where it goes from right to center to left, is the getting rid of private property. Under social democracy, private property still exists, so I consider it a right-wing ideology, but I think it is the closest thing to, like, not capitalism anymore.
That seems like an overly restrictive definition. It just seems like the case that if you had like the vast majority of the economy was socialized and you had a small portion that was still private, you would be calling it capital.
Yeah,
So
I would say it's very mostly socialist, but if it still has private property, that's capital. There's still capitalism being produced happening in that country.
Okay, not just like the Marxist idea, right, of us living in a capitalist mode of production, but every country that has ever existed would be capitalist in Europe.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Well, I believe that feudalism is different. I'm also I sort of
slave society, not feudal.
Yeah, I was gonna say that feudalism is different, but slave society is capitalism. We had slaves under capitalism. That's why we had to have the Civil War.
No, slave society is not when you have slaves. So slave society would predate feudal.
No, you mean ancient slaves. I was thinking chattel slavery like in America. I consider that to be capitalism. But
Okay.
you mean slave society that is like ancient slave society is what you're saying.
Do you think the majority of or do you think any of the economy was socialized under
Under what?
feudalism?
I think that it was a lot more, it was a lot more like the land was shared among the peasants, but the land was still ultimately owned by the landlord and everything.
Okay, that would be private, right? That would be private ownership.
It's similar. I would actually agree that I could describe most of history as capitalistic because of the hierarchy. However, I agree that it's different because they're not paid in wages and it's not generated for profit. What they do is the landlord just wants to own as much land so that they can make as much, grain and stuff and then have as much power as possible, which is and then the different trade people come together and once people aren't just farmers, then that sort of is transitioning more into capitalism. But
All right,
yeah.
well, Smiley, it's about 9:57. I've got to head out. That thing I said I had.
Okay, well, it's been
you have
fun talking to you. I'll looking forward to our next conversation.
All right, you have a good.
All right, see you soon. Bye. It doesn't. I don't know why I typed that answer out. I should have asked. If a king of a feudal country owned something, would that count as state ownership and thus social ownership? I don't think social ownership and state ownership are the same things. I disagree. I think what China and the USSR were, I would consider that to be called state capitalism, because they run their country like a business and the CEO is the party, like the grand secretary. If the question was, if Smiley, if someone wants to own a bakery without any wage labor relationship, they should be allowed to do so. And yes, I agree, because as long as they own the bakery, and they are the only ones working the bakery, then that's their personal property. It only becomes private property when you have employees who don't have as much say in your company, and you pay them wages, and they generate surplus value for you. But you also have to pay them in some sort of way. So I hope that answers your question. Ver rusticum. So anyway, if anybody's still watching, please check out Sinthe's channel. I will link it in the chat. It should be in the description of both of the things. So I'm going to put it in the chat so that you can Control C, so that you can find him there. I think in a cooperative system, this is again Ver talking, I think in a cooperative system, if that baker needed a second hand, he would be required to make them a co-owner. Yes, they would be a co-owner in that state, and that would still be socialist. If they were not a co-owner and they were nothing but a simple employee, then that would just be capitalism. Now, co-owner does not have to be half owner. They do not have to split it 50-50. They can run a contract where the person who works the bakery but is not the owner has like a 25 to 75% say. So they still have a say in how things are run. They may make suggestions, they can disagree with things, and you know, depending on their thing, and they also deserve stock in the company so that they can make that there. And then obviously the more employees you have, then eventually the level of employees can eventually outweigh the so-called owner's share. So like the so-called original owner's share. So if say the bakery hired like 3 to 5 employees and they all got like you know, like let's see, so it would be 5 employees, 6, so whatever, you know, if they got like, you know, ownership that made it so that it could override the stock, the choices of the owner. No, that's still cooperative. Socialist, like true socialist, would mean that there is the means of production would be owned by the society, which you could say is the government, and then they would rent the means of production from the government, and then they would all have equal share in it. But that's true socialism, but that's not something that I think would happen soon, and I think we should start with the co-op thing where everybody, you know, gets 20% stock and gets to decide on, you know, their hours and, you know, whether or not they want to take it, maybe like a dip in wages for everybody if there's like a price shock or something. And there's a lot of evidence that shows that cooperative firms do handle things like that a lot better without laying people off and everything. To Crucible Clips, who said that. But anyway, yeah, so I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. If there's any other questions, I'll give you another 5-10 seconds to ask. Okay, so at Crucible Clips, I would consider Rusticum is saying Rusticum. That's an interesting name. I would consider ESOPs, which is that self-directed worker enterprise? No, I'm not sure what ESOP stands for. Are an example of what co-op benefits would look like, but I'd actually prefer worker ownership of the business, not the stocks. Yeah, I think in order to do it under capitalism, we would still have to have stocks. But ideally, we would get rid of stocks. Also, in my opinion, I think that the transition from nationalizing and socializing firms should start from the top down. It shouldn't be that like the second you hire an employee, you have to become a cooperative business, because some small businesses actually do work better having a boss and employees in that relationship. But like places like Amazon and Tesla or like SpaceX and all that stuff, huge like Fortune 500 companies and banks and things, we should start from the top down. Like the larger and more, international and across the nation the business is, those should be the ones that we start nationalizing and giving everybody basically equal share and say in how the place is run, and we move it down, adding smaller and smaller firms until we find that sweet spot, which ends up where it still actually works better as a traditional capitalistic style level of ownership. However, as an anarchist, my goal is to flatten hierarchies as much as possible. However, that only means unjustified hierarchies. There are justifiable hierarchies, like a parent governing a child. That is a justifiable hierarchy. Like a teacher in a classroom, provided that they're not abusing the students in any way, would be a hierarchy where you listen to the teacher and the students don't have as much say. However, having some say would be good. There's nothing wrong with that. Even these companies would just split themselves into smaller units and subcontract with each other. I don't know if there's any evidence for that, because there's a very large cranberry juice company, Ocean Spray, that's entirely a cooperative, employee, self-directed enterprise, and they are huge, and they have great market share, and all the farmers own how it works, along with the factory workers and everything, and that's completely cooperative, and it's huge. Also, Mondragon hasn't done that, and they are, Mondragon, the biggest cooperative in the world, that Spanish clothing company, they do fine. So yeah, I don't think there's evidence to suggest that they would just split themselves into smaller and smaller subcontracts and do things like that, because that just doesn't even make any sense. Because, like, why would you do that when you could have access to more labor and more machinery? Like, why would you make it smaller? Smiley, thoughts on consumer co-ops like the cooperative group in Britain? I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to look that up. I will look up cooperative group in Britain. Commodity... Oops, why did that not work? Commodity cooperative group Britain. Cooperative Group Ltd Bond Market Insider. Is this the one that we're talking about? It's a stock. Cooperative Group. What do they sell? Great Britain. Yeah, this is the place. What is their commodities that they sell? Look at their stocks. They're doing rather well, it looks like. Why is my screen shaking so much? Their stocks are at like over 100, about 100 and yeah, a little like $125, $126 a share. Their stock is doing great. Let's see. If you said all $1 billion companies need to do this, they will escape this at all costs, just like the rich people leave countries like this. Yes, that is something that we would make it difficult. That's why we would start at the top, and they would lobby against it and move it down. But what Sinthe said, who is no longer on call, so I should probably turn that off since they are no longer there. You want me to check the Wikipedia page of the cooperative group Ltd? Okay. Cooperative group UK Wikipedia. The cooperative group Wikipedia. Okay, so ooh, yes. Has everyone made their Wikipedia donation, their yearly what is it, $5 something, $2, $1, even 50 cents. Everybody should make their contribution. Wikipedia is having a free encyclopedic resource on the internet is the most important thing we need to absolutely have. Cooperative group Limited, trading as Co-op, is a British consumer cooperative with a diverse family of retail businesses, including food, retail. Okay, so they're basically like they own multiple businesses cooperatively under their name. They have several different industries that they do. The group manages Cooperative Federal Trading Services, formerly the Cooperative Retail Trading Group. So far, I see no issue with this. I don't quite understand what it is. It seems like a pretty good idea. If there's something that I'm missing, maybe we could do it. Let's see. I ask because consumer and multi-stakeholder co-ops are underrated. Most worker-owned enterprises are actually the minority. Yes, we want to change that. Yeah, co-op. A co-op has a lot of different definition, but worker self-directed enterprises and worker-owned things, that's the goal. You want to get those going, and I think we should do that, like I said, from the top down. But you're absolutely right. Yes, of course those large companies would avoid that at all costs, but that's why we have to utilize our power in voting and, changing things. And, unfortunately, we have to start getting better optics and better rhetoric on taking votes away from the right who just fearmonger about complete just made up bullshit like CRT and shit that somehow gets them votes. The founder has said it's been completely infiltrated by transnational corporate interests and governments. Why would an anarchist support Wiki? It's a tool of control at this point. Are you talking about the founder of Wikipedia? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, then maybe we should get another Wiki or Pedia, I'm sure there's better things, but Wikipedia isn't like a bad, website. It's not like, it's not the end-all be-all. Obviously, you should research articles and find as many sources as possible, but I don't, Wikipedia isn't the, the bad, thing that everybody thinks it is. Obviously, you should do more research and things. Do you have evidence of that? Where would Oh really? The owner of a solution is Warren's wealth tax. So if capitalists resists eminent domain or co-ops, he would lose half of his e-wealth. That's a great idea. Yeah. That'll be tough to pass, but luckily in the next maybe 5 to 7 years, I think we're gonna get a lot more control and increase the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and start to phase out the crazy QAnon obsessed Trump Republican Party, and then make it sort of the progressive versus the the more conservative center, you know, neoliberal Dems, which unfortunately they're still the vast, vast, vast majority. Also, Warren kind of like sold out Bernie in they were working together pretty hard, and then she did that thing where she like released something about Bernie being sexist or something, and that was pretty not pog. That was pretty unbased. That was not cool. That was pretty cringe. I do like the idea of the founder of Wikipedia making a Wikipedia based on blockchain. That sounds good. Or move. They just move. Yeah, but frankly, the world has become globalized, so it's not really that big of a deal. It would actually be fine. They could move to other countries, and then they would boost hopefully boost the economy of those countries and stuff. Not if they lose half or most of their belongings, LMAO. Yeah, that's a good point. That's true. Cause you know, if they just left, then whatever. We could buy it from them, you know. All right. Any other questions that anybody has that they want me to ask, or does anyone want to watch me react to a video or something, or do we want to just maybe sign off now? I'm thinking I'm kind of tired. What do you guys think? I could play a game if you guys want to watch me play like Halo Infinite, but other than that, I think we might be diggity done. All right. Well, it's been a minute or two. I don't see any new questions or chats or anything. So, I think I'm going to sign off. It's been real, guys. Have a good one.